The backstory of Shibai Otsutsuki would definitely break the internet once it's revealed that how he was associated with Boruto from the beginning all along. But the thing that most fans ignore about him is that he had a life before becoming an Otsutsuki god, and there could be so much that he must have done in that phase, which might have even laid the foundation of everything that's happening in the story. Like, what if I told you it wasn't Kaguya who's responsible for the shinobi world to thrive so much by marrying a human being? Rather, it was actually Shibai who indirectly attracted both Kaguya and Ishiki on the planet, and Momoshiki has almost proved it with a single statement. You must be familiar with how Kaguya's lore was changed in Boruto by introducing a subordinate whom she ended up betraying on to mate with a human. But there is one question that never gets asked enough. Who were the Otsutsuki behind the first god tree which was planted on the planet? The original lore tells us that a god tree bears a chakra fruit every 1,000 years, but since we now know that information was incomplete based on the fact that the creation of a god tree requires a 10-tailed seedling as well as an Otsutsuki for sacrifice, this makes one thing clear, that there were some other Otsutsuki who had planted the god tree that was present on Earth likely 1,000 years before Kaguya and Ishiki's arrival, and they could be none other than Shibai Otsutsuki and his pair, and by the end of this video, you will find out exactly how. The original lore of Naruto reveals that a god tree bears a chakra fruit every 1,000 years. This means the chakra fruit eaten by Kaguya was likely the second fruit that this tree had produced, at least 1,000 years after the first one. It is also believed that humans feared the god tree, indicating it existed long enough for them to become a part of their myths. Now, with the new information from Boruto, we can conclude a few things. The whole fear factor could have been a part of the god tree's ability to drain chakra from the planet. Code revealed that he drains all life out of a planet, but I believe the truth is far from that, because if that was the case, then humanity shouldn't have existed by the time Kaguya and Ishiki had arrived on the planet. Regardless, there may have been some havoc or destruction caused by the god tree, which is why the humans were fearful of its existence. Now, here is the thing. We know the creation of a god tree requires the sacrifice of an Otsutsuki, which is usually the lower ranking member of the duo, and judging by how there were two missing Otsutsuki, one thing is clear, that one of them must have become a sacrifice to the original 10-tailed seedling, which is how this tree was formed. Now, this is the point where things get interesting. If you pay attention, Ishiki had brought a different specimen of the 10 tails with him for the cultivation of the god tree. His plan must have been to sacrifice Kaguya with this one, most likely to drain the planet completely and obtain its fruit. This means the fruit that Kaguya ate wasn't likely a part of their major plan. And this brings us to the question, why did they come to the planet then? Was it actually the existing god tree that lured them, or something greater than that? So the Occam's razor tells us that the missing Otsutsuki were indeed Shibai and his pair, but there are a few complications with the chakra fruit and god tree thing which don't make any sense. For example, why didn't the original god tree wipe out the planet if it's well established in Boruto that the whole planet would die after an Otsutsuki sacrifice? Well, what if I told you it did wipe out everything from the planet, but the act of producing and consuming the divine fruit led to the Otsutsuki unlocking omnipotence, which may be how he brought everything back. This would explain why the god tree did not end all the life on the planet. It could have been Shibai using his knowledge of the future to play a game ahead of time, and once he reversed the destruction, he must have for some reasons gotten overwhelmed by the power, which is why he left his body behind to transcend to a higher plane of existence. This theory makes more sense when you think about the statement of Momoshiki, where he mentioned that the Otsutsuki gods have altered the history of humanity before. The original history could have been death of the planet after the harvest of the divine tree, but Shibai could have used his omnipotence to change history, which is how the divine tree got popularized as an urban legend and a symbol of fear. There could have been people who still retain some of the memories of the mass destruction, which is how the whole myth spread. Now, here comes the most interesting part. How exactly did Ishiki and Kaguya choose this planet for their chakra fruit harvest? Ishiki said to Momoshiki that when a planet's space curvature exceeds 10, it becomes an abnormality, and going by the law, Kaguya should have reported the planet back to the clan, as its curvature was at 16, 1.6 times more than that of what's considered normal. Now, this high curvature could have been because of Kurama and the chakra emitting entities like the other Biju. But here is the thing. When Kaguya and Ishiki arrived on the planet, the only chakra source was the god tree planted by some other duo 1,000 years ago. On top of that, Momoshiki or Kinshiki never mentioned Ishiki, even though he and Kaguya had come to the planet together. So it's either that they had no knowledge about Ishiki being the partner of Kaguya, or they knew that she was supposed to betray him, followed by abiding the law of the clan to inform the abnormal planet. Well, this gives us a glimpse into the secret schemes of the clan. Have you wondered why Ishiki and Shibai possess the same dojutsu, the Kokugan, in one of their eyes? Well, at first it may feel like a coincidence, but if you think about it, there is a chance that Ishhiki was really close to entering godhood just like Shibai, and that's how he unlocked the Kokugan. Well, if he was actually about to become a god, maybe he was just one chakra fruit away from becoming one. But the higher-ups of the Otsutsuki clan, whose statues can be seen in the dimensions of Kaguya, could have been against his ascent to godhood, and that may be why they ordered Kaguya to get rid of him. That she did. But before she could report the planet, as well as the mission back to her clan, she fell in love with a human, and that's how the whole lore of Naruto was formed. Now, as for the space curvature being lower than 10 when Kaguya and Ishiki arrived on the planet, what could have persuaded them to specifically choose it for the harvest? The thing that needs to be noted is that Jigen was able to obtain the remains of Shibai that he later gave to Amado for scientific experiment. He for sure knew that these remains were hidden on the planet, which means his purpose was not just to obtain the chakra fruit, but the remains of an Otsutsuki god too. Now here is something which makes it all more interesting. Core said that a divine tree harvest sucks all the chakra out of a planet, and when we talk about chakra, it must mean the essence of every living and dead creature that ever walked on this land. He also warned Kawaki that unless he escapes to another dimension, almost everyone and everything will die. This means the harvest would extract the chakra out of every living and dead thing on the planet. And looking at how Shibai's remains were always there is a chance that the divine fruit of earth would have created a chakra fruit which would source a lot of divine powers to the consumer. In other words, it would have been a lot more potent than any other chakra fruit, with the remains of Shibai acting as the greatest contributing factor to it. Now here's another thing. No matter whether the chakra fruit of the planet would have made him more powerful or not, but looking at how Shibai left his mortal remains on Earth after ascending to another dimension, Ishhiki following his footsteps and leaving behind his corpse on the planet before entering the higher dimension, makes it seem like a sort of pattern which holds some symbolic importance. Both Shibai and Ishhiki wanted Earth to be their final planet of harvest before entering godhood. So here is what I believe could have been the case. It's a very interesting possibility, so I hope you subscribe if you find it cool. The cases of Shibai and Ishhiki indicate that achieving godhood, a state of transcendence beyond mortality, may require consuming chakra fruits from a specific sequence of planets, with Earth holding a unique significance as the final planet in this process. This particular sequence, combined with the act of leaving behind mortal remains, forms a ritualistic pattern with both practical and symbolic importance. Shibai Otsutsuki, who is confirmed to have ascended to godhood, likely followed this sequence, consuming fruits from multiple planets before putting an end to his journey on Earth. Ishhiki, on the other hand, aiming for the same goal, also targeted Earth as his final planet, suggesting that the chakra fruit of Earth is the capstone of this sequence. Now there could be several reasons for why this may have been the case. First off, entering godhood may require a minimum number of chakra fruits, but only those from planets with sufficient chakra density or unique properties would count towards the transformation. Lesser planets might sustain an Otsutsuki's life or power, but would likely not contribute to the ascension. Coming back to the statement of Kinshiki, where he revealed that planets with high space curvature need to be reported to the clan by law. Have you wondered what was the need of that law at first place? Well, what if the Otsutsukis do not want their members to enter such planets with high chakra density since they contribute to attaining godhood? The clan could have been trying to minimize the number of people who can become gods, since it would have led to an imbalance in the cosmos. And that's why they might have made some planets forbidden for their members, with transgressors like Ishhiki facing a terrible fate. It could also be that the clan is too devoted to Shibai and doesn't want another Otsutsuki to become a god. The road to obtaining divinity can be seen as an exclusive one-time thing in the clan that only power-hungry Otsutsuki would have opted for. That may be why they constantly hunt for abnormal planets, with Earth being a final nail in the coffin in this cosmic sequence. Unfortunately for Ishhiki, when he couldn't become a god in a normal manner by following this pattern, he had to wait patiently for years, which is when he formed Kara and even gave the precious remains of Shibai to Amado to create some powerful cyborgs. You must be knowing that Jigen had ordered to dispose some cyborgs like Aida and Daemon cause he feared that they would overpower him. This means he must have met them both in person, and that's when Amado found that Aida's charm neither works on Otsutsuki nor her blood relatives. So what exactly could be the reason behind which made him ask Amado to dispose Aida when her ability was totally harmless? Well, the answer could be straight but not that simple. It could be that Jigen somehow knew the true identity of Aida's charm, which is the omnipotence, cause if she somehow had become aware of this power, there was a slight chance for her to seek how to use it, even though it didn't actually happen, as we could see in the story later. But Jigen wasn't in a mood to risk it all, and that's why he ordered to disband them both. But there is something unusual which forced me to believe that Aida could actually act as a green flag to Jigen's master plan, someone who assured him that he's on the right track. So here is how it goes. In a recent chapter, Jigen assured Amado to not to worry, as everyone's wishes will come true. We know he was talking about his lost daughter, but till this date there was no explanation to how he was going to bring her back. So what if the introduction of Aida, or let's say her ability, is the perfect answer to this? Jigen or Ishhiki, after his final fruit of earth, would have become an Otsutsuki god, unlocking his power of omnipotence that he could have then used to revive Akebi, keeping his promise to Amado. But even though this was a huge deal, the scientist still had doubts in trusting an Otsutsuki, and that's why he began his own game. The status of godhood is something that can make an Otsutsuki survive countless years in an unknown planet, that too among people whom he had never met before. Ishiki used the body of Jigen to just do that, and that's how he also close to obtaining what he wanted. So here is what I think. There could be a clear contrast between how Jura would be defeated when we compare it to the defeat of Ishiki. They both fall prey to different aspects of humanity, explaining the reasons behind their defeat. While the one that Jura is about to face is still speculative, the unexpected twist in Jigen's plan is pretty much obvious. So it's basically the fact that he overlooked the capability of human intellect. Ishhiki found the most skillful person to do his work, and there was a good news attached. His victim was burdened by emotions and a longing for an impossible wish. He offered him a solution that any human would have accepted, and this decision must have come to him centuries after living on the planet. He knew for a fact that humans have vulnerabilities which stem from the concept of love, and while utilizing Amado, he tried to take advantage of his trapped situation just to get the most out of him. But what went under his sleeve was the fact that Amado was a smart person. All the years of hard work that he had put wasn't in the name of science or to save his daughter. Instead, he also improved his decision-making skills, which gave him an idea of reverse engineering the Karma Seal to revive Akebi. Cause let's be real, even if Jigen had fulfilled his wish, they wouldn't have a world to stay in, so maybe it was just better for the scientist to look after the safety of the planet on top of preserving a way to revive his daughter. So while Jigen lost to the intellectual power of Amado, the defeat of Jura would require someone to show him the same vulnerable side of humans that Ishiki tried to take advantage of. What I mean is that his defeat would be marked once he gets to know the concept of love better, on top of understanding the whole ins and outs of human emotion and how it's more than a weakness to them. I will surely cover this topic in future, so make sure you are subscribed with the bell on to not miss that. Also check out this video where I reveal where Momoshiki is residing right now. I will see you next time.